All right, so we're kind of seeing how this was done, and we talked about some changes we would want to make to this in part one. So I'm more or less finished with this sketch at the moment. So I'm going to go ahead and click and finish the sketch. I'm going to come back to my home here so I can kind of see what happens with this. Now notice again, as I highlight, I've moved my cursor over it. It kind of highlights the enclosed sketch areas for this. I'm going to go ahead and extrude this. So let's use our extrude tool. I'm going to click on the handle part. Now, again, as our extrusion pop-up window comes up here, in the past we've been just doing this from one side. In this case, we're going to make this symmetrical. It is going to be a distance, and I'm going to measure that again on my coffee mug. So in this case, for the handle here, that is a half-inch handle. So let's go ahead and make that 0.5. Now notice, when I go ahead at this point and click OK, the object says cut in my operation. So if I click OK, it disappears. And I'm kind of left with these cutout sections from where the sketch was in the wall of the coffee mug. And that's obviously not what we want. So let's kind of come back down here to our timeline. I'm going to left click and then right click and go back to edit feature. So instead of being a cut, we want this to be a join. So I'm going to click join and hit OK. So now I've got the handle. Looks like it's a little bit bumpy there. So I might want to go back in. So let's kind of come back in now as we do this. Now let me, instead of editing the feature here, I'm going to go back and I'm going to edit the profile sketch. So let's kind of come back in there. And now let's kind of, that's constrained. Let's bring this up. And maybe I'm going to need to either pull this up. There we go. That looks a little bit better. A little smoother in terms of the actual geometry. And I think I'm going to move this up just a little bit too. Let me go ahead and click finish the sketch. Still not quite as smooth as I'd like it to be. So let's kind of try something else. So, and this is the type of thing you can go back and forth. This is as we just kind of make some decisions here. You can go back and forth with this to kind of get it to be the way you want it to be. So I'm going to close that up. I want that handle to be just a little bit thicker than it actually is. Now, of course, we could also put in some dimensions to try to constrain this as well. In this case, I'm going to kind of just move out, and let's move this in just a little bit. Let's see if it allows me. So I can kind of move that just a little bit. And if I kind of come up with this one, maybe I move that one. Notice you can also stretch this out just a little bit. So just play around with it to get familiar with how to do this. So there we go. Finish sketch. Not exactly perfect. I'm not 100% agreement or liking that, but it's good for right now. So let's go back to the home. I want to now come in with a fillet, and I'm going to try this fillet a couple of different ways. I'm going to select the whole outside, and let's just say, let's make this 0.250. Notice how that kind of gives us this type of a relationship on the outside. Do you like that? So maybe you like that, maybe you don't. Let's go ahead and back this up. I'm going to kind of, again, on my timeline, I'm going to left click, edit the feature. I want to make this bigger. Let's just see if I can make this bigger. So there we go, 0.5. Notice it does not preview. So, and the reason it doesn't preview, we also had that error pop up. It's too big, so it won't accept that. So let's try, instead of 0.5, let's try 0.4. So again, doesn't accept that. So let's kind of move this down. The software automatically knows that that fillet or chamfer is too big, and you're not going to be able to generate that type of a curvature. So let's go back now. Let's see if it, there we go, 300 works. Let me see if 350. 350 is too big. I'm going to back it up. Let's try 325. Still too big. So 320 is too big. 300 it actually forms. And I'm going to go ahead and, you know what, I think I like that. So at this point, we're going to say okay with that and take a look at this. So it's not bad. It's a nice curvature on there. But if you think about it, I still have some sharp corners here and here. So let's kind of see what we can do with that. Let's go back here with the fillet. Let's click on there. Let's make this 0.1. So too big. So let's back it up. So our 0.1, I had to double feature. And again, as you're looking at that, you're kind of seeing it doesn't really like it. So let's try a 0.075. So now, here as you go, you can kind of see now it's breaking that and making it a little smoother. So let's go ahead and click OK. All right. So now that was on the face. And this is the way we got the face and put a fillet there. Let's hit the undo for a minute. Rather than putting a fillet on the face, let's go back to the fillet tool and let's select the edge. So I'm going to select this edge and that edge. So, and we're going to make this size 0.125 and hit OK. So again, that's still a little too big. So let's try 0.1. You're kind of seeing it knows that the radial value of that is too big. So in this case, I just kind of go and I keep trying. In this case, till I get a radius that will fit. Now, obviously, if you have design intent and if you have specific sizes, you need to model this in the way that it should be, that would actually have those sizes. Right now, I'm just kind of getting some stuff in here, and we're just kind of being creative and open-ended with our design process. So that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, I will point out these are sharp corners too. So again, in terms of ergonomics for us as humans to design, if you take a look at your coffee mug, those don't really come to a real sharp 90-degree corner. We've got radii on those as well. So let's go ahead and let's put some radiuses on here using the fillet tool. So I'm going to select that edge and that edge. And in this case, this isn't a real big one. We're just going to put a 50 thousandths radius here, 0.050. Now, notice when we do this, we're going to be fine on the inside, but it doesn't like it. So we're interfering with the curvature of the handle. So let's try this with a 30 thousandths. So, or in this case, it's not going to give us that option at all. So let's kind of back out here. So just so you can kind of see what we're doing, if I put a 50 thousandths radius on here, 0.015, that will kind of open that up. Let's make this just a little bit bigger. So let's go 0.090. We'll go 90 thousandths. So that way I got a nice curve in there. Now, you can kind of zoom in right here at this point, and you can see why we're having some issues with that actual curve right there. And in order to take care of that, you'd have to go back in and kind of either change your spline, move your splines down a little bit, or you'd have to do something else. So let's try that for a second. So let's kind of go back here to my extrusion, right click and go to edit profile sketch. Now, in this case, I'm going to bring this line down some more. So we're going to kind of move a few things down just to see if we can get this in just a little bit more. Let's kind of try to move that back, move this down just a little bit more here too. Maybe even kind of shift this just a little bit. Let's see if that makes a difference. All right. Oh, it did, but I lost my, now I don't have my handle. So let's go back in. We can re-edit this feature. So, sorry, we don't edit the feature on that. We want to kind of, let's delete that out for just a second. Let's go back to the extrusion and edit this profile sketch again. So again, the issue here, I imagine, is more once again in terms of not having a closed off sketch. And you can see right here the issue is with this one. So let's get that to cross back over. There we go. All right, now I've got my handle back. So, and we've got enough space up here. So I deleted my fillet on the inside. So we're going to go back to the fillet tool. We're going to model this again. So I'm going to put a fillet here and a fillet there. And we're going to make this fillet as big as it'll allow us. So let's try 90. Too big. So let's try 80 thousandths. Still too big. 70 thousandths. At 70 thousandths, it's allowing us to generate that. Again, the geometry and the math, the computer software is doing all of that for us. The software is calculating it in. And now up here, I have enough room, so I should be able to go and put a fillet back on that. So let me use my fillet tool. We'll click right here. So let's make this a 0.0. I'm going to just put a 30 thousandths. Now, let's see if we can get a 50 thousandths. We'll go ahead and put a 50 thousandths radius on that as well. That kind of gives me what I'm looking at. So that's pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with that at the moment. All right, so one last thing here that we need to do. I'm hoping that I have enough time on this one. On mine, I got a little cutout on here. So we're going to, real quick, just to put that in, I'm going to come in and we're going to create a sketch on the bottom plane here. In this case, I'll again use a circle. So I'm not even too concerned with the overall size. So we'll go ahead and just place that in there. We'll finish the sketch out, and I'm going to extrude this now. We're just going to move it back about minus 0.65, 65 thousandths. Make sure that we're at a minus here to go back in. So I'm just kind of putting that lip in there. And then again, we're going to create the fillet. When we'll put a fillet in here, we'll see if we can, whatever the size is that we can get, 0.125. We'll see if it allows us to do that. And it does. So there's my fillet to kind of break that in. And at this point, I'm pretty happy overall with the size of this. So I think we're in good shape with my mug. So let's kind of take one last look and make sure everything is good. All right, so last thing, we're going to apply some material. So we're going to go right up here to the document settings. So let's go ahead and click on, if I right click on document settings, notice it gives me a choice of material. So I'm going to say we're going to pick a material here, and in this case the material library opens up with Fusion. We know coffee mugs are made out of ceramic, so let's kind of go, this is going to be a porcelain glazed, a glazed porcelain. So I'm going to select that tool and come down and make sure that that is highlighted here as we go and assign that porcelain glaze to this as the actual material. So I think I'm pretty good to go with that. So we've got that in place. So I can say, all right, that is exactly what I want. Let me kind of move the pop-up here so I can close this out and zoom. We've got the porcelain. It's white. We could even change color if you wanted, so we can kind of play around, and we'll come back at, but I'm almost out of time on this video, so that ends part 2 of the coffee mug. So go ahead and get yours modeled. I'm looking forward to seeing it next week.